reason why I have this picture up on my PowerPoint is my dad is with the Cherokee tribe. Well, he was. Unfortunately, my dad passed away back in 2018. But my dad is an indigenous Native American, and his tribe is out of Washington, D.C., Virginia area. And the reason why I think it's significant is because I always felt this calling to my roots on my dad's side. And unfortunately, we never got to really tap into his his bloodline, his ancestors, because my grandmother, which would have been my grandmother or his mom, she passed away when he was 16, and his dad unfortunately left when he was about 5 years old. So he was on his own from the age of 16. But I always felt this calling to the native tribe. So I really started studying the native tribes, just trying to find who am I? Who am I on his side? I knew who I was on my mom's side, part Puerto Rican and part St. Thomas Virgin Islands, but who was I on his side? And that took me into a lot of these tribes, the Blackfoot Lakota, the Hopi tribes. I found that the Hopi had a lot of phenomenal prophecies that really seemed to resonate with me, and I began to see a lot of this, their prophecy was really coming to pass. And so I discovered the Hopi prophecy of this World Wide Web. And to go back in time a little bit, let me start there first, because I think it's more relevant to give a little bit of a preface before I get right into it. So I would say back in 1997 is the first time that I actually saw the World Wide Web exist. I had read about it in 1992 in a Hopi prophecy that the world will be connected by this invisible web and information will travel to and fro. And they said that the Hopi elders spoke of a vision of vast web spreading across the entire planet, connecting all peoples in an invisible network of threads. And they said that through this web, humans would communicate instantly across great distances, sharing thoughts, images, knowledge in ways never thought possible, and that humanity will exist in two worlds simultaneously: the natural world of the earth and the sky, and the artificial world woven from invisible threads, neither fully present in either realm. And when I read that, I didn't really understand the technology aspect of it. I just thought that if this was a true prophecy and it really could come to fruition, that one day everyone on the planet would hear my voice. Because by the time I read this, I was decades into research and I didn't have anybody to talk to. But I said, if I live to that era, if it's real, if this prophecy is real, then the world would hear my voice. And the prophecy described the final test for humanity, a moment when the web would serve as both a bridge and barrier, awakening and enslavement, offering one last chance to remember the spiritual law before the purification and transition into the fifth world. Because as all the ancient indigenous peoples from all around the world have said, we have lived through 4 worlds and we're heading into the 5th. And this is the age of Aquarius, the beginning of the age of Aquarius. And we are now heading into this 5th world. So what happened was in 1997, I was watching an NBA game of all things. With Michael Jordan was playing on a Saturday afternoon. And during this game, a commercial comes on, all black screen, IBM, then a small .com. Now I knew what IBM was, but I didn't know what the .com part was. And it was all black screen, no sound, no words, no colors. That was it. 15 seconds, it stayed on the screen like a moment of silence, and then the commercial was gone. Now at the time I owned a marketing agency, so I sold TV ad space, so I knew how much that costed. I was like, okay, that was kind of weird. Maybe it was an error. It came on again, then it came on a third time. Okay, now I said, I need to find out what this is, because this is expensive to put on during an NBA finals. So I went to the bookstore and I asked the receptionist, yeah, I saw this commercial that said IBM.com. Do you know what this .com means? And she said, oh, in that section over there, the World Wide Web. I go, the World Wide what? She said, the World Wide Web. I go over to that section and I realized that the time had arrived, that I had lived to see an era where the Hopi prophecy had been fulfilled. And so we're talking about this connection between the Hopi prophecy and even the red and blue Kachina prophecy. And that first prophecy being fulfilled of the World Wide Web coming into fruition in my own lifetime, I realized that I need to study these Hopi prophecies, because if this happened, so eloquently and so specific, then what other prophecies do they have? So I got really deep into the Hopi blue and red Kachina, which is the end of the fourth world and the birth of the fifth. I also learned about it from the Mayans. And so the ancient wisdom is going to meet modern revelation. Sacred cycles are going to converge with cosmic signs. And these cosmic signs are going to appear where? In the heavens, in space. And so that really had me intrigued, because by the time I got really deep into the Kachina, blue and red Kachina prophecy, it was now the era of me gaining knowledge, because it was the beginning of the information age. So I was able to research things 10 times faster than I was in the early 90s. And I was beginning to realize that some of the terminology they were using was technological or cosmological. And in this particular case with the red and blue Kachina, I started thinking, could there be an invasion? Is there going to be some type of sighting in the heavens? Is there going to be a comet or an asteroid that's going to strike us? I didn't know exactly what it would be, but I felt like it was definitely going to be something really huge and the whole world would be watching. And again, when you go back to the Hopi and you read about the Spider Woman and the Cosmic Weaver, where in Hopi cosmology, it talks about the Spider Woman as the primordial weaver who creates the fabric of existence itself. And she does not merely weave physical threads, but timeless worlds and consciousness. And her web is sacred. It's sacred architecture that underlies the structure in which all life connects, communicates, and evolves. And then when the Spider Woman casts her web over the earth, she's not creating a trap, but revealing the hidden connections that have already existed. And I believe that's what really forbidden knowledge is all about. And it's had a huge impact on me creating or becoming this, I guess this vision of forbidden knowledge and what it really meant to me. It was kind of really based on this right here. And so we see that the modern World Wide Web is a physical infrastructure, tangible web of cables, towers, and satellites that carry our data. And we have the digital layer, the software, the protocols, the platforms that organize information and flow. And we have the human interface, our devices, our screens, our avatars through which we interact with the network. And then we have the collective mind, the emerging synthetic intelligence formed by interconnected humans and machines. And now we exist in two forms: our physical bodies moving through the natural world and our digital avatars navigating the virtual space, just as the prophecy stated. The prophecy actually manifested this with stunning precision. And it said that we'd be living in two worlds: the web over the earth, the internet and global network, the planetary nervous system, and the two worlds, physical and digital, split attention and identity. And the illusion world, social media, VR, algorithmic feeds, curated reality bubbles, and the loss of balance, tech addiction, doom scrolling, identity fragmentation. We have more than ever young people committing suicides because they didn't get enough likes or they got some negative comments. We get disconnection from nature itself. People are more on these devices than anything else. And then we would get to the final test, the ethical use of AI, data, and power, the evolution of extinction of spirit. So all this is happening in this exact moment, the evolution of mankind and the precipice that we sit on. What direction will we take? Will we take the path down the left fork in the road or the right fork in the road? And it's all about really education, which is why it's great that Neil and Alan and Debbie, that you're having this conference, because it gives you and people like myself and others a chance to spread some knowledge and some potential wisdom that maybe people will absorb, and they'll begin to take it and emulate it and become teachers themselves. Because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But we're all the student and we are all the teachers. And so if we take it from that mindset, it's all about making this type of education and enlightenment duplicatable so we can pass this on from generation to generation, so that we actually head into the fifth world and that we don't destroy the fifth world before we get a chance to actually experience it. Because data is the new thread. This is the thread that we're weaving on this planet, right? Digital weavers, programmers, AI engineers, network designers are the new weavers crafting the architecture of our collective reality. We have the algorithmic looms. Machine learning models and predictive engines are serving as looms on which our digital identities are experienced as being woven. And we have our information threads. Every click, every search, every post, every transaction becomes a thread on a larger pattern, revealing who we are and what we desire. And then we have the tool of awakening and enslavement. We have to recognize that this tool can be used for the awakening, which is what this is all about today. At the same time, we know that the elites would love to use it for enslavement, and they have utilized it for enslavement of a certain percentage of the civilization, which is why we need to wake them up and bring them to true reality. Because we have the global access to knowledge and wisdom traditions, preservation of indigenous teachings and sacred texts, connection between spiritual seekers worldwide, democratizations of education and information, and exposure of corruption and hidden truths, and the coordination of collective actions for justice, which, as you see, we're all experiencing at this exact moment in this space and time. But it also has the enslavement aspect, surveillance and capitalism, extracting our attention and stealing our energy vampires, algorithm manipulation and perception behavior. So they're stealing us and robbing our perception and giving us this dogma and this skewed perception of reality, which is altering our behavior. Digital addiction and fragmenting consciousness, loss of privacy and personal sovereignty, echo chambers for reinforcing division, and technology replacing direct human connection. Even in some countries like Japan, they have these tech dates where you don't really date a woman anymore. You get this virtual online woman. The men are having trouble talking to real women now. And so this is a thing that has began to happen. So it's really important for conferences like this and the New Living Expo and everything else that we have going on to be able to continue to work on dispensing this information to mankind so we can see where we are, what positives are there, but also let's look at the negatives and see how we can then alchemically convert the darkness back into light, right? Because internet collapse can be a modern purification archetype. In the Hopi cosmology, each world ends when humanity misuses technology, like Lemuria, loses and violates spiritual law. And the first world ends in fire. The second world ended in ice. The third in water. What if the fourth world ends in information collapse? Imagine information collapse, what that would do to us right now. AI-triggered chaos, autonomous systems making decisions beyond human understanding, cyber warfare and grid failures, right? Digital currency collapse would be a nightmare. Identity and communication implosion. If the web fell tomorrow, billions would lose access to their money, their memories, and relationships. So it's really important that we begin to also not only rely on the technology, but that we bring back in family, we bring back in community, we bring back in love, we bring back in gatherings, we bring back in basic survival and wisdom and knowledge, and we bring back the verbal handed down histories, just like the Hopi and the other indigenous tribes around the world. Because if information collapses and there's nobody to verbally hand down this wisdom and this knowledge, well, that will disappear too. And then we'll head back into another Bronze Age, right? We're on this Yuga cycle, which we know exists. And we're right now, I think that we're at the beginning of a Silver Age, or at least in the Tetra Yuga, in the beginning stages. So it would be really vital if we can continue to sustain this movement back toward a golden age and a clockwise movement. We don't want to retract back counterclockwise and move backwards towards a Bronze Age if something technological or geological did happen. So it's also important for us to preserve this wisdom verbally. We have to have it in people's minds, in their heads, eventually even into the subconscious programming, so that it's naturally passed down from generation to generation. Because we know that the planet is a nervous system. The Earth is alive. It has enough neural connections through the mushrooms that exist, right? So there's this mushroom fiber that exists that connects everything. It's all interconnected right beneath the soil, and all of the roots and everything else that exist, they create this connection, this grid, this earthly web that exists. And we know that plants communicate, trees communicate. They all have this communication capability and this infrastructure of connectivity underground. And this also connects to the Earth's natural gem areas within the crust itself, massive gem areas. The Earth creates oil. That's the ambiotic fluid of the Earth. Oil isn't created by dead dinosaurs and rotting plants. It's created by the Earth. diamonds and all these things. It's all created by the earth. But we know that crystals communicate, crystals transmit information, crystals replicate. And so we're talking about a body. The earth itself is an actual body. It's not just a planet that we live on. It's actual living being. And so we come to this place and point where who enters into the fifth world? Conscious technology use, those who use digital tools with awareness and intention rather than compulsion and addiction. So important to get to the youth with this information so they can become aware of the compulsion and the addiction, move back into awareness and intention so we can get the right type of use out of the technology. Sovereignty and identity, people who refuse to let algorithms define their thoughts, desires, and sense of self. We have to get away from the false identity that's been forced on us and get back into understanding who we truly are as a person and understand our core values, not the ones that have been forced on us, so we can gain independent thought. Individuals who maintain the capacity for critical thinking beyond the echo chambers of tribal narratives. And then we'll have spiritual and material balance. Those who master the web without being owned by it. They will remember the earth while navigating digital space. And that's what this is. This entire conference and ones like it are all about utilizing the web as a tool to enhance mankind, not to tear mankind down. Because right now we're all surfing the web to access this content while I'm speaking live. So, but at the same time, we still remember the earth while navigating digital space. And so we have this archetypal foresight. The web prophecy was not a literal prediction, but an archetypal vision of a planetary neural network that would test humanity's spiritual maturity. And that's where we are today. And the web serves as both a bridge to higher consciousness, shared knowledge, and a filter determining who carries wisdom into the next age. It's on us, the masses, to carry the wisdom. We cannot allow these elite oligarchs to take hold of the wisdom from their version and their perspective and then send that to the next generation. It's on us to make sure it happens. And then how we navigate the tension between awakening and enslavement within the digital web will represent our species' final test before the transition. And the web is going to amplify whatever consciousness we bring it, either fear, love, control, liberation, separation, or unity. Whatever we reflect into it from our inner selves is what's going to come back, just like the law of attraction. And that's why the algorithm that's on these social media platforms is not an algorithm per se that we made up, that human beings programmed and made this algorithm. No, the algorithm is a reflection of who you are. If you go to your popular page on TikTok or Instagram, or your main feed on Facebook, or you go to your main page on YouTube, it's going to feed you content. It's going to predict the content you want to see. Now, is it right 100% of the time? No. However, your popular page will expose who you are at your core. Are there a bunch of naked women dancing around and a bunch of naked guys? Are there street fights and pranks going on nonstop, gossip pages? Or is it full of motivation, inspiration, knowledge, wisdom, self-improvement techniques? Is it full of that? So if you go to your popular page, you're going to get a quick look at your inner self, because the algorithm is the same one that's running the same universe. It's all the same. It's only a fractal of the universe itself. And so the Hopi are powerful people, and I think I might have successfully tied them to the Kachinas after sitting with some Hopi elders in Scottsdale, Arizona, just about a month ago. Now, the Kachinas are spiritual intermediaries between humans and the creator Tawa, and they are not gods, they're not aliens, but sacred messengers who embody natural forces and moral principles. And they have cosmic governance. These beings govern and reign agricultural fertility and changing of seasons and the maintenance of the cosmic balance. And they enforce spiritual law, and they guide humanity toward harmony and natural cycles. So the Kachinas are huge and they're powerful. And I think that understanding the Kachinas as a symbolic archetypal force rather than literal physical entities is essential to grasping the deeper meaning of the Hopi prophecy. So we have these worlds of creation. The fifth world is destroyed. The first world, is destroyed by fire when humanity became corrupt and forgot the creator's laws. The second was destroyed by ice as a punishment for losing balance and embracing materialism. The third was destroyed by great floods, not just one, but several great floods, which basically, because humans were practicing dark magic and violated sacred principles. The fourth world is our present age, technology, materialism, separation from nature, approaching its end. And we're feeling it now as so many people are waking up, but they're trying, the elites and the dark lords are trying to hold on with every little bit they have left, even though their grip is slipping. And now we're heading into this fifth age, the coming age of purification of consciousness, balance, and harmony with cosmic law. We're right at the precipice of moving into that next frequency, that next vibration. And so the blue Kachina and the red Kachina, to me, are tied to 3i Atlas. I might have been the only one to bring this up initially a few months back and talk about this. But the end of the fourth world, the appearance of the blue Kachina, marks the final stage of the current world cycle, signaling the time has run out for systems built on imbalance, which is exactly where we are right now. And the truth is going to be revealed. This being represents the unveiling of hidden truths, forbidden knowledge, the exposure of deception, and the revelation of what has been concealed from humanity. And the moral reckoning, the blue Kachina catalyzes a period of moral reckoning where individuals and societies must confront the consequences of their choices. They're talking about the Hermetic principles now, the Hermetic principle of cause and effect. Every conscious decision that we act on is going to create a consequence. It could be a good consequence or a bad consequence, but it will create a consequence, and it's going to be a consequence of our choices. And so the blue Kachina is actually a good sign because it's signaled to us. And why blue? Because we know that as 3i Atlas was on its approach, it was burning bright blue. It turned from red to blue. And as it went around the sun, it turned super bright blue, even brighter than the sun at one moment. And so we had this blue, but it means the institutions, the corrupt institutions, the dishonest leaders, the systems built on exploitation are going to begin to crumble. And as we look at what's going on in government right now, as we look at governments around the world, they're all being exposed at the deepest, darkest level, the highest level elite and oligarchs coming forth in all these Epstein files, which they redacted. They spent $1 million redacting them, but they can be unredacted just by using AI. They did such a poor job. The names of the leaders and the rulers of the planet that are on this list are shocking and mind-boggling. And we know now that these leaders and oligarchs, they're heavy into this pedophilia. And we know that they're into the dark energy. They're all about utilizing and manipulating the forces that were made for light for darkness. And all this is being exposed right before our very eyes. The corruptness of the government, the lies that they tell, the things that we could never see before unless we just had conspiracy theories are now being all proven to be 1000% accurate. We're clearly living in this exact time. Exposure of corruption, secrets are revealed, scandals erupt, the machinery of deception becomes visible. What was hidden in darkness is dragged into the light. Isn't that what just happened? This prophecy is mind-boggling and amazing how accurate it is. Environmental balance laid bare. The consequences of humanity's disrespect for Earth become undeniable. Extreme weather, ecosystem collapse, resource depletion accelerate to crisis levels, which we've been seeing all around the world. And that humanity must choose to continue on the path of destruction and face purification, or change our course toward balance and earn passage into the fifth world. The key word here is to earn the passage into the fifth world. We always have to remember as humanity that the earth itself is very empathetic towards human beings, as we are just ticks on the surface of its skin. The earth itself can just shake its back and we would literally be gone in a heartbeat. The earth would collaborate with the sun for a coronal mass ejection to cleanse its surface any moment that it wants, because they communicate with each other. But that hasn't happened at this moment in time because we've been giving chance after chance after chance. And so this is the chance that we've been given. And then we have the red Kachina, which appeared again in 3i Atlas, the same object glowing red and blue. The red kachina represents cleansing through fire, not necessarily literal flames, but the burning away of all that cannot sustain itself in the new age. In other words, the Christ consciousness is returning back to the people. Our higher levels of thinking, our awareness, our gratitude, our love is coming back, and the old version of us is being stripped away. The old structures, the old false beliefs, and the old corrupt systems are being consumed. And we see it happening right before our very eyes. The planetary reset is here. This being represents Earth itself, correctness, correcting the mechanism. When humans refuse to restore balance, the planet itself acts to remove imbalance. So this is why we have to show gratitude, show love, and work on new solutions to problems that affect not only us, but also the Earth as a whole. We must take the Earth into consideration in everything that we do. And then enforcement of cosmic law, because the red kachina ensures that universal principles are upheld and actions have consequences, because spiritual law is not negotiable. And what was sown forth in the fourth world will be reaped during the purification. It's an energy exchange. So we have the two brothers of cosmic balance. The blue kachina reveals truth. The red kachina enforces correction. The blue kachina is spiritual signal. The physical purification is the red kachina. The warning and awakening from the blue kachina, the consequence and renewal from the red kachina. The messenger of change in the blue kachina, the agent of transformation in the red kachina. The blue kachina illuminates the path, and the red kachina cleanses the way forward. The blue kachina is the opportunity for choice, and the red kachina are results of choices made. And so as we look at this and we take this into consideration, we have to begin to realize and understand where we are in this world. And you can take this down now, Neil, for me. Where we are in this world, in this realm. What does it mean for us, these signals, these cosmic signals in the sky, these great beings that have come to bring us and visit us as a geological warning as to where we are, who we are, and what potential we possess as beings. It's letting us know that we have the potential for absolute, undeniable greatness. We have the potential to lead mankind back into a golden age. We are already in some ways in that motion, but it's also a warning to let us know, don't forget the way. Don't forget to save the sacred sages' messages, our ancestors' messages, and don't take them for granted because they have true meaning and merit and value. And to also recognize that we are the new ancestors. It's us. So today is the day that we all say, look, we're here. No more divide and conquer. No more hatred. No more separation. No more red and blue. It's all false. No more divisiveness. No more destruction. We need to begin to analyze what parts of the earth are hurting right now. What parts of us are hurting? How do we access that? How do we fix it? How do we put ourselves in a position to come together and come up with nothing but solutions to the problems? Because once humanity switches from a mindset of competition over collaboration into a collaboration over competition mindset, everything is going to shift on this planet instantaneously. In the twinkling of an eye, will be transformed into this new fifth age. People think this fifth age is going to come over thousands of years. It doesn't have to be that way. It can happen tomorrow if everybody is on one accord.